with piecewise functions, it's one of those things that can get really confusing. You can end up making the same small mistakes over and over again if you're not careful from the very beginning. So definitely pay attention and watch, because there are little things that you can do wrong and it'll make a lot of problems for later. So just want to review where we left off last week with this foldable, that if we have to graph a piecewise function, that you can fold the paper to help you know where you're supposed to graph. So if you want to graph -1, remember these are y equals here, and you want to graph something that's less than, if you fold the right side of your paper to 1, then it will show you what's supposed to be graphed. That's +1. What's supposed to be graphed? Oh no, y equals -1. That's right. That's right. Okay. And remember, if it's a line underneath, it's closed. If there's no line, it's open. So what you see is what you graph, and then we erased anything that was underneath it. That's what we erased. So if we want to graph y equals -3, here's y equals -3. Fold it over again to +1 on the x-axis, and then what we see is what should stay there, and anything that was underneath the paper is what we erased. Alright, so let's give that a try here on number 1. Zoom in on here. So remember, these are both y equals. So I'm going to graph y equals 2. So start the y-axis in the middle, go up 1, up 2. And then we want to draw a line at y equals 2. So go ahead and do this. Follow along with me. So there's one line. Let me use a color so you can see it easier. Yeah. But we only want to graph it for x less than 0. So if we're going to do less than, remember, you're going to fold the right side of your paper for less than. So fold the right side of your paper to 0. So this is like, and this is x. So this is like x equals 4, x equals 3, x equals 2, x equals 1, and then x equals 0. So that means this graph should only be visible starting here. So open circle, right? Just like that. So what we see, this is our actual graph, right? And everything underneath, you want to erase that. Okay, so what's left over and underneath, let's take that off. Erase that. Like that. Okay. And then let's do the same thing for -5. So remember, this is y equals -5. So y-axis at -5. So here's 0. -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. Okay, right there. And this is greater than. So greater than, you want to fold the left side. For anything greater than, fold the left side of your paper. So let's fold the left side to 0. Okay. So we have, there's like -4, that's -3, -2, -1, and there's 0 right there in the middle. And remember, usually when it goes from one to the other, it's usually straight up and down. So we're kind of expecting these, since they're both 0, to be on the same vertical line. Alright, and what we see here is what stays. That's your graph. And everything underneath the paper is what you want to erase. Okay, so that is the final graph right there. too bad. So we have the y equals part. That's the up and down, right, where you start on the y-axis. And then the x, where it says domain, remember those are left and right numbers. Okay, see if you can do number 2. Very similar. Use number 1 to help you out. Okay, let's look at number 2. Now, some people assumed that it was always going to be at 0 because the last one is at 0, but notice how this is at 3. So this is x equals 3. So you want to fold for the less than 3, you want to fold to positive 3, which is right here. Okay. Which means it's going to start and stop here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. And then for the next one, at -7, it's going to start at 3 as well, but it's going to be greater than and go the other direction. So we're going to go down to -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I want to use the other side and go to 3. Okay. And that's where that starts. That's a solid circle. Okay. Right. Now you'll notice this is different because it's not just a straight line. This is what we practiced yesterday, slopes and y-intercepts. So let's take it one by one. Let's go ahead and graph the first one, -5. So let's go down to -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's a less than, so I'm going to fold the right-hand side. It's an open circle, and what I see is what I should graph, so it's going this direction. It's going to the left. Now you notice here I didn't draw the line first, and therefore I don't have to erase it. So after a while, this is probably what you're going to start doing as far as the graphing goes. Okay? And should this be open or closed?
Open.
Closed, yeah. So make sure that's an equal to right here, so that's a closed. So now here's what's a little different from what we practiced yesterday. We need to graph this line right here. So let's start at 3. That's the y-intercept, but we're going to go up 1 and right 2. So we're going to go up 1, right 2. And we're going to do that a few times till we get to the end of the graph. All right, like that. However, it's only going to be from x greater than 0. So I'm going to fold this side to 0, and that's the only part that should be in our final answer. So everything underneath I need to erase for that line, that diagonal line. So you want to take this part off. And this is an open circle. So make it a very clear and obvious open circle, and make sure the one below it is a clear closed circle. So that's what's different about today, is that you're going to have a combination of horizontal and diagonal lines, or you could have both diagonal lines, and nothing but diagonals. Okay? But the same idea applies as folding the paper and everything. All right. Let's take a look at number 6, which has 2 diagonals. Right. So let's graph -x plus 2. remember that's negative 1 over 1x plus 2. So start at positive 2. And we're going to go down 1 and right 1. And draw a diagonal line. Okay, there we go. So that's step 1, is just draw the line fully. But we only want to graph it for less than or equal to 0. So that's going to be a closed circle starting at 0. So for less than, fold the right side to 0. And that's the only part that should be visible. Okay, that's the only part that should be visible. So put a solid dot here. And then go ahead and erase everything underneath. So it's the same process as we did before with horizontal lines. So all this we take off. Now if you think you can just fold it and then graph it that way, you could try that, but it does take a little more practice to get used to it. This is the safer way. Alright, same idea here for the next one. I want to graph x plus 8, which is 1 over 1 x plus 8. So start at 8, which is up here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Start up here. And then go up 1, right 1. Okay. Like that. But we only want to graph it greater than or to the right of 0. So if I fold the left side of the paper to 0, see that's only that tiny little bit part right here is the only part that should be in the final graph. It should be an open circle. So I want to make that an open circle and then erase everything underneath the paper. So all this part needs to go away for that part of the line. And again, you can see where one stops, and if you jump up or down, the other one should start. Okay. Let's go ahead and flip it over. So number 9. Or 7, sorry, I want to go 7. Yeah. Alright, so let me walk you through this one while you guys do it. Go ahead and graph 2 over 3x minus 2. Do that first. Graph it all the way across the whole paper. Okay, so you should have something that looks like this. Alright. Minus 2, up 2 over 3 a few times. Okay, now use the folding to graph only less than positive 3. So now fold the paper and graph only less than positive 3. So now you have something that looks like this. I folded it to 3. I made an open circle, I kept everything I could see, and I erased everything underneath. So you can see it's that same line, but it just stops right here at 3. Because that's where it says, stop at 3 and only graph to the left of 3. So it's only graph to the left of positive 3. Okay, and let's go ahead and graph this. This is just a regular horizontal line, so go to negative 4. Alright. Y equals negative 4. but you only want a graphic greater than +3. So fold the left side to 3, and you can see you only want that much of the graph to be in the final answer. So that's a solid dot. And erase anything below. All right. And there you have it. Okay, so on number 11, go ahead and start at the right place. So this is -x plus 0, right? So we need to start at 0 and then go down 1 over 1. So remember, if there's no y-intercept given, you have to start at 0. So that's just going to go down 1 over 1. And it'll be a diagonal just going down. So down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, and so on. So I saw some people, they're starting at the wrong place here. And then we only want to graph this for less than or equal to 2. So I'm going to fold the right-hand side to 2 and put a solid circle there. Right? And then erase everything underneath. So there we go. That's the first part. And then do the same thing here. Graph 1 over 1 x plus 0 for this. So start here, go up 1 over 1, but then fold the left-hand side to 5 to start it at 5. And then I also want to review on number 9. Make sure for this 2, it's a 2x minus 9. Right? So if you start at -9, yeah, up to right 1. So it should go up to here, and it's going to stop at 3. So if you fold it here to 3, you see that's where it stops. So it should look like that with an open circle. Okay. All right, so use that and go ahead and finish it up. Well, actually, let's look at the front real fast since we're already there. Okay. So here is where we still have the same two things we're normally doing. One that goes left, one that goes right, but there's something in the middle on these. Start by just doing the ones we already do normally. Graph to the left, 2. So y equals 2. All right, open circle. Y equals 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starts at 1. Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starts at 1. And then there's just a little part in between. From -1 to +1, it has a start and a stopping place. Graph it at 4. So 2, 3, 4 from -1. It's that little tiny place from -1 to +1. Okay, just like that. Okay, please finish it up. You got about 10 minutes to finish them all up and get it to me.